SSC has brought in a lot of changes as far as the pattern is concerned, the level of questions is concerned, and we are constantly getting ready towards the same and keeping the same in mind. This is a new topic, a new session on ethical dilemma. Recently, I would not say recently, 2 to 3 weeks back, I had taken a session on social and emotional intelligence, and a lot of people have come across questions from this topic also, and they are merging it with that one. There are differences, and I will list those differences today. So by the end of the session, you will be able to understand what ethical dilemma is and how to deal with those questions, right? Before we begin, quickly let's go through what are the session objectives today. The objective for today will be to focus entirely on the understanding of what ethical dilemma is all about and how to deal with those situations, okay? We'll understand the complete nitty-gritties of it, and then we will also practice a few interesting questions, okay? Also, a quick update that the new pattern, the new interface and the new type of questions, everything is live on the Oliveboard platform in the form of mock test. Go ahead and participate in the same and practice as many as you can to develop your muscle memory and your skills. Also, if you're looking to practice these new topics at one place for all the subjects, Oliveboard has also taken care of that. It has launched the SSC CGL new pattern practice course. You can go ahead and check it out. This is exclusively available for super elite subscribers. So go ahead and subscribe the same if you have not yet done that. So let's start today's session without any further ado. We'll start with the concept of, just give me a moment, okay? We'll start with a complete conceptual understanding of ethical dilemma. Now, while this loads, I'll just tell you what exactly happens is when you had learned social and emotional intelligence, okay? So that was to test your empathy, that if somebody is in a particular situation and if they're going through an emotion, how well do you perceive that? How well do you understand that emotion? That is social intelligence. And how well do you respond in your own emotional situations? How well do you understand yourself and how do you reciprocate in those situations? That is emotional intelligence. But there is always an approach of picking up the most ideal solution in those cases. But dilemma is something different. What does dilemma stand for? Dilemma stands for a conflict. It stands for a concept. It stands for a concept where you have two choices. You are standing on, let's say, a two-way. Okay, you are on a two-way road. You are on a dilemma. This one way is leading to somewhere. The other way is leading to somewhere else. You don't know what is going to be the final result. You don't know which way is right, which way is wrong. Now you have to make a choice. Okay, this is a dilemma where maybe you are comparing between two very conflicting ideas, or you are comparing between two positives or two negatives. So one may be good, the other one may be slightly better, or one may be bad and the other one may be worse. So even if you choose the bad one, there are going to be consequences. But you need to identify that whether the consequences outweigh the actual result of your thing or not. So that's how you will compare. It's as good as a doctor prescribing medicine. If a doctor prescribes medicines to his patients, he knows that a certain medicine has a side effect and the patient is going to suffer now. If he is already not well, now his stomach will be upset and he'll have headaches and he'll start vomiting, he'll feel nausea. There are all the side effects of a particular medicine, but he thinks that the benefits outweigh the side effects. So I will have to administer this medicine to him. Then that is the only case where he will actually be healing from the inside. These side effects will gradually lessen after a day or two, but his overall situation is going to improve. So that's why in that dilemma, he chooses to prescribe the medicine. And that's how dilemma works, right? So you'll have to make a choice between two rights or two wrongs. And this is the best test for your moral and ethical compass. How you think, how integral you are, what are your values, how do you actually perceive things, right? So we'll go about that. We'll go through that. What is ethical dilemma? So it's a situation where an individual has to choose between two or more conflicting options. Okay, they are contradicting each other, but then you have to make a choice. And none of the options is the ideal situation. Like I told you, in social and emotional intelligence, we always tell you to stick to the ideal case. One of the options will be ideal, you will be able to read it and understand. But in ethical dilemma, you'll have to choose that. You're not sure what is going to happen. It may be a choice between good and better or bad and worse. So that's how it works. Now, if you choose one particular option, even in that case, for the other options, you are going to lose on a moral ground. But then it depends, no, whether your losing is important or you choosing the right thing is important. So you'll have to take this decision, and this decision is going to fluctuate for each and every question, right? Like I explained it to you already, right versus right or wrong versus wrong. So that's the scenario. It's never going to be right versus wrong, because then it is very easy, and then it is not a dilemma. If the choice is easy, it's not a dilemma. Dilemma in itself implies the choice is difficult. Okay. So why is this important? Why have they suddenly introduced this? Because this is your real life testing. This actually tests your moral character. In the sense that this is something where you cannot do rote learning. That okay, I've understood maybe these short tricks, these 4 tricks, I'll just apply and get my answer. This is not application based in that way. This is not analytical as such. What exactly needs to be done is you're given random hypothetical scenarios which may happen in real life as well. So which may actually be replicated in your real life. You have to understand those situations and act accordingly, and they want to judge the test of character, that how exactly will you react in the certain scenarios. So are you fit to be an officer with the government of India or not? That is the basic purpose of these questions. Though I know that initially at this stage they don't even know what you have answered for your questions probably when they are calculating marks for a humongous number of students. But I think gradually they'll shift to a point where they will lay importance on certain questions. Let's say they have put 3 questions of ethical dilemma in your paper. They will specifically check what the student has scored in these questions. So that these questions might act as a tiebreaker. That if there is a tie between 2 students, the student who has performed better in these 3 questions will be selected over the other one, because he seems to be ethically more sound for the role. Not now, but maybe going forward, because we have seen examinations which actually do that. It tests your moral compass, already told you. It assesses your integrity, one and the same thing. It develops problem solving skills, because real problem solving skills are not very easily achievable. You will not be able to understand that a problem is actually very easily solvable or not. You will have to go through these dilemmas where the choice is difficult, and then you will have to make a decision. Okay. And it measures your empathy. This also somewhere or the other functions around your empathy. Now try to understand that a lot of people compare this with decision making. Right? They think that okay, this is as good as decision making only. I think this is what decision making is all about. Decision making, which is a part of critical reasoning, is actually different. In that, the questions are formed such that there are certain criteria given to you, and the question asks you to select or reject a candidate for a particular post. So strictly based on those criteria, you decide whether to select the candidate, whether to reject the candidate, whether to refer it to somebody else, or maybe none of the courses follow. Those questions are from decision making. These questions, though it seems as if you are taking a decision, they come under the category of ethical dilemma, emotional intelligence, social intelligence. Understand this difference, okay? They can be an extension of critical reasoning only. Now, when you look at a question, how will you approach that question? What exactly will you do if you come across a dilemma based question? You will first have to identify the core conflict. Core conflict means you will have to hit on the right spot, that what is the actual dilemma, what is the actual problem, what is the issue which is causing the difficulty to take the decision, right? So is it personal gain and public duty? What is the problem? In some cases, choosing personal gain may actually be beneficial. Similarly, in some cases, choosing the public duty is always a must, right? Then you have to identify the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders in this? Who are actually being benefited, and or who are actually being, who are facing the disadvantages? So you have to understand these things. You have to identify these things. Merely by reading or while reading, simultaneously this should hit your ground. This should hit your mind that okay, okay, I've understood what these points are, and now my thought process is starting accordingly, and I have to take the decision. And all this has to go on simultaneously so that you can achieve the answers quicker. You cannot spend a lot of time here. Of course, you'll evaluate the options. So after looking at and identifying all these, you will look at the options and you will understand that okay, which seems to be the best possible option. A lot of times, very easily, you will be able to eliminate 1 or 2 options. So you'll still be left with 2. But usually those 2 options are actually the reasons for the dilemma. And I'll show you live examples which will help you understand that. Okay. But what is important comes after this. Now, after this point, once you're done with this, you will actually use the help of ethical frameworks. What are ethical frameworks? Well, this is not important for you from the point of examination from the point of view of SSC examination. This is slightly psychological detail, slightly, very slight, very, we are brushing on the surface. But I need to share this with you so that you understand this concept better. Okay. So ethical frameworks, basically ethical dilemma is not a concept. It's a real life scenario. A lot of people in lot of departments, offices, jobs, real life scenario, everyday, day-to-day life, they go through ethical dilemmas. The problem is each person is not smart enough to handle and take decisions appropriately, and some people brutally or miserably lead to a problem because of taking incorrect decisions. So at positions of power, what they have done is they have laid down frameworks for you to understand better and to help you take a decision, right? Those are ethical frameworks. They are viewpoints, they are theories which are suggested, and each of them contradicts the other. So they are different theory sets which are applicable in different scenarios. You cannot apply one always in your life. You have to choose depending on the problem. So I'm just giving you a brief, but even if you don't know this, you will still be able to solve your questions. At this stage, they are not getting into this extreme detail. They are only expecting you to hover around the question, just read and probably give your answers, right? Okay. So what are the ethical frameworks? There are three major ethical frameworks, but there are others as well. They are merged into this only somewhere or the other. Very interesting point, guys. Be with me for the next 5 minutes. It's very important. Utilitarianism. What is that? Now, you must have studied about marginal utility or utility in concept of economics. This is basically somewhat related to that. This is about maximum utility. Maximum utility means by following a certain, option, by taking a certain course of action, by resolving a certain dilemma, in which case I am getting the maximum benefit, I will choose that. It's that simple. Okay. Or in which case I'll get the minimum loss, I will choose that. So supposedly I am investing my money in two places. Okay. And in one place I am getting a 17% loss, in the other place I am getting 22% loss. So where will I invest my money? Of course 17% loss. Lesser the loss, better for me. I will still go through a loss because it is compulsory for me to invest. But then which one will I choose? So this is a dilemma for me. Of course I will go with the 17% one. But that might not always be true in your real life. So I'll just give you an example of a very common problem which is known as a trolley problem. You can Google this also. Okay. Interesting psychological aspect. You can Google this if you want. What is a trolley problem? Now, in the trolley problem, there is a hypothetical scenario where there are two parallel tracks, railway tracks. Okay. And there is a single track on which the train is right now coming from. There are 5 people who are tied at this track and 1 person who is tied at this one. Okay. Now by default your train is here, it's coming from this track. You are on duty in this switch case here, switch room, guard room. It's your duty now to put the train on the track where you can save lives. Now of course the train is going to go, where do you actually divert the train? So the question is, the train is going to go here by default, so it's going to kill 5 people. Now you have an option where you can actually lower the switch and make the train go on this track where it will still kill 1 person. So what do you choose? And majority of the people choose to put the train on this track. They feel that 5 lives are greater than 1 life. 5 lives are more important than 1 life. And that is what the concept of utilitarianism says. Okay. But remember, this may not always be right. Just imagine the reverse of this scenario. Okay. So actually the trolley problem does not have a solution, a logical solution. So this is where ethics come into picture. A lot of people have different views on it. Okay. Now I'll give you a simple example. Supposedly I have a gun and we have 5 people standing here and 1 person standing here. Either I shoot 5 people or I shoot this 1 person. In both the cases, I am going to be given the death penalty, right? Ideally that's what is expected. So if the punishment for the crime is the same, whether 5 people or 1 person, life is equally important is what it is trying to say. So this becomes like a paradox, right? How are you choosing 5 lives over 1? Even this 1 person is going to die, is going to lose a life, and that is still not ethical. Okay. So hence this fails there. What is deontology? Deontology is just the opposite. Deontology says if 5 dies, I don't care. If 1 dies, I don't care. What only I care about is my rules, my duty. I need to stick to that. If I keep performing my duty without thinking about anything else, I am going to get to a resolution and I am not to be blamed in that case. So what is the duty of this person? He needs to do that. If he needs to divert the train, he will have to do it, whether one person dies, whether 5 people die. If there is a platform here, there is a railway station, and he has to put it on the platform no matter what, then that's what he's going to do. Even if 5 people die, we cannot do anything. So then they cannot hold him accountable. Okay, that is what deontology says. Okay, and there is a third one. What happened? Oh. There is a third one which is based on virtue ethics. Virtue ethics means you ask yourself in this scenario, what would a person with complete moral character would do in this case? Complete moral character means an ideal person, what would he or she do in this particular situation? That should probably be my approach, but that is also not applicable everywhere. So these are different frameworks. Somewhere or the other, these questions will be based on those frameworks only, right? So you'll read the questions and you'll be able to set these frameworks there. Cool. So of course you need to choose the most justifiable option. So we'll just conclude quickly. So ethical dilemmas are a test of your character and judgment. You need to prioritize integrity, fairness and public welfare. You need to always follow your rules and protocols. Be careful about this. That is the most important. That is the most important dignity wise, integrity wise, if you can do something. The best answer is the one with the strongest, most justifiable ethical reasoning. Of course, there is nothing, no rocket science there. And we'll be, of course, practicing questions now, right? Done. So that was the gist of ethical reasoning for you, ethical dilemma for you. What exactly is ethical dilemma and how you can actually make it better. But still, there is no short trick. This is just a critical reasoning, critical thinking skill which you need to have. So gradually, as and when you will progress, the more questions you solve, the better you will get at these scenarios. Okay. Now I'll start giving you hypothetical scenarios and you will be able to answer the questions right away. So this is the first question. For all of you who are looking at the recorded version, you can hit the pause button here, read the question and then answer. I'll start explaining right away. Okay. So let's go through the question. The question is, you are a junior officer who discovers a senior colleague is involved in a minor embezzlement. Embezzlement, I hope you all know what is embezzlement. The colleague is under immense financial stress due to a family member's illness. Reporting them will likely lead to their dismissal. This is the dilemma. You have come across that this person has performed embezzlement of sorts. That is, he has moved money, illegally from the company. He's sort of a theft. And the question is, which of the following actions is the most ethically sound? You know that the person's family member is very ill. Probably he has done an embezzlement of a very small amount. But what do you do? So just read the options. Ignore the discrepancy as the amount is small. A lot of people in real life will do that. But that's not ethically right. Confront the senior colleague privately. Threaten to report them. This is useless. Report the matter to your superior as per protocol and collect more evidence on your own before deciding. This is where they go. Students will get confused here. And a lot of people mark this as the correct answer. Right? During the examination, just imagine you have the pressure of the clock going on the top. You are already solving some questions. Some questions have gone wrong. You are not in the right state of your mind. And you have this question in front of you. You will not be able to think straight. At that moment, you will want to choose between C and D. Okay. A and B you will still reject right away. But C and D is where you will get stuck. And a lot of people will think I should investigate more. That's the most safest option here. But that is not the most ethical thing. Even if your duty, what is your duty? What is the protocol? That if you come across anything negative about your company, anybody taking advantage or disadvantage, okay, in that case, what needs to be done is you need to report it. It's that simple. Whether it's your personal person, whether it's your vendetta, I mean not for vendetta, but whatever it is, you need to report it. And that is why you reporting it is the only most moral or ethical thing. Now, despite reporting it is actually going to cost him his job, his family member's illness might not be taken care of, he might not be able to manage money, whatever it is, your job is to report it. After that, what the organization does is their call. It's not yours. But you have to do your duty, no matter how harsh it sounds. Okay. Next. But this is an example of, the previous one is an example of deontology. That's how it works. That you don't have to be moral or ethical here. You have to follow your duty. That's the only ethics you need to follow. Question number 2. As the head of procurement for a government project, this will remind you of a lot of scenario which is currently going on around us. As the head of procurement of a government project, you have 3 bids. Bid A is the lowest and compliant. Bid B supports local jobs but is more expensive. Bid C has better long-term reliability and a lower environmental footprint but is the most expensive. The tender rules state that you must select the lowest technically compliant bid. which action should you take? Nivas is saying, sir, give me olive test free. If it was under if it was under my jurisdiction, I would have, but I can't, right? Maybe the people at the organization are looking at this video and they might think to grant Nivas that wish. But ethically, it should not be done, right? But I think we are bringing in live tests every week, so they are free only. You can access those. Okay. So now what exactly will you do? You have three options with you. Bid A is a very basic bid. It is very cheap and it is doing your job. It's compliant to your requirements. Bid B is slightly expensive, but it is better. It is performing local jobs to people. So that's an added advantage. Bid C is outright the best. It has long-term impact. It is very reliable. It is even lesser in carbon footprint, but it is the most expensive out of the three. What do you choose? What is your duty? Just read the options. You'll again get confused. Choose bid A, strictly following the tender rules. You might think that, okay, let's read the others. Choose bid B or bid C, but there is no valid reason as to why you will switch to bid B or bid C. So most probably students will eliminate these two options for sure. The problem is between A and D. Again, a vast majority ends up choosing option D. They say that we'll request a re-evaluation and then we'll see what exactly happens. Okay. Your job is not to request a re-evaluation. Your moral ethical duty right now, out of these three bids, if anybody is satisfying the minimum criteria, you need to select them, no matter anything else. And right now, you needed to see the lowest bid and technically compliant. Both option A is solving that. So you need to select option A, no matter what. Even if you have any other much better option after that, you will still not go with it. Ethically, you will stick to this. Got it? Next. You are a police inspector investigating a hit and run. Okay, I'll just move out of the frame so that you can hit the pause button or you can take a screenshot here. You are a police inspector investigating a hit and run. The only witness is a 10-year-old child. Hopefully everybody knows what's a hit and run. Somebody has caused an accident by their vehicle and then they have run away. They have not stopped and helped the person out. That's hit and run. And a 10-year-old child is the only witness to it. Now you have started investigating and you found that the suspect's vehicle, the vehicle which was described by the child, the registration number, etc., matched with your superior's son. The person who you report to as a police officer, your senior, probably the commissioner, it's his son's vehicle only. And the commissioner has given you a subtle hint that handle the matter carefully, in quotes, in air quotes. So what will you do? Okay. So you inform the superior officer of a conflict of interest and hand over the case. People will get confused here also. They'll be like, I think that's right, because I can't be held responsible for this, no? If I will help out, if I will solve the case, then I will get caught, in the sense that I will lose my job. If I'll not solve the case, then it is ethically incorrect. So what do I do? So I'll say that I am not responsible for this, sir. You make somebody else responsible. Give this case to somebody else. That is ethically not right, because your duty is to actually solve the case, to perform the investigation. So this is gone. Okay. Proceed with investigation impartially based on the evidence. Most appropriate answer, but read the others also. Seek advice from an ethics committee. Another problematic option. Drop the case and claim the witness was unreliable. This is absolutely rubbish. Now between B and C, what would you choose? So ethics committee is something which lures you towards yourself. You are like, okay, this situation is something different. You know? So what I'll do is I'll go to the ethics committee and I'll ask them what needs to be done, and whatever they'll suggest, I'll do. But my dear friend, ethics committee will also consist of policemen only. If it's in a police department, it will consist of policemen, and you never know. It's just because their name is ethics committee, maybe not all of them are ethical. Maybe they will favor the superior and they will try to, lead you into a direction which should not have been the case. This is your decision to make, not an ethical committee's. So you will have to proceed with the investigation impartially. Even if it's your superior son, you will have to do what's your duty. Next. Okay. You are a doctor with one dose of a life-saving medicine. Very interesting question this one is. Okay. You just have one dose of a life-saving medicine. There is a life-threatening disease which is on the run, and two patients need it. They have come to your hospital. Both of them are suffering from the same disease. They are terminally ill. Probably if they don't get the medicine, next day they will die. But the medicine is something magical Just by one dose, they'll be cured for life. Now, there are two people. One is an ordinary citizen, also suffering from the same problem. And the other one is a respected political leader, also suffering from the same problem. Who do you administer the medicine to? Both have an equal chance of survival. Right? Both have an equal chance of survival. Even if you give the medicine to the politician, he will survive. And even if you give the medicine to the ordinary person, he will also survive. So, there is no option that, okay, he is almost going to die. He might not be saved even after giving the medicine. So, let him go. There is no choice of that sort. Okay. So, who will you administer the medicine to? Just read the options. Okay. The political leader, as their life is more valuable? Of course not. The patient who arrived first at the hospital? Lot of people will get biased here. Even I did for the first time when I looked at a question. Neither of them should receive it? Of course not. And it should be administered based on a fair objective criteria. Okay. Now, I'll tell you, there was another word written here which I actually deleted, and hence this question becomes very easy. But this was what was written after it. Example, lottery. So, then what happens is a lot of people end up choosing option B. They think that the patient who walked up first at the hospital obviously gets the medicine. Because you are thinking only unidimensionally. What are you thinking? You are thinking that a patient, maybe probably the ordinary man, has come to your hospital first. He has told you about his symptoms and you have prescribed the medicine and you have given it to him. Now the politician has come. Okay. So you are saying that, sir, we are done with the medicine, or vice versa. So that becomes easy. No. Walked in first means, let's say both of them have stepped at the same time in the hospital. One person stepped at a time and the other person stepped just 1 minute or 2 minutes later. So what will you say? Sorry, sir, you're 2 minutes late. I can't give you the medicine. He came before, so I'll have to give it to him. In saving life, you cannot have a first come, first serve basis. No, that's not an ideal situation to be in. So what is the ideal answer here? Despite it might sound vague, the ideal answer is to go for a fair and objective criterion. That criterion can be anything. But in this case, if nothing is working out, you will go for a fair thing, like a lottery system. You'll take a lottery that I don't know who to give the medicine to. I'll take a lottery. If your name comes, I'll give it to you. If your name comes, I'll give it to you. It's fair and square for both of you. And it might sound bizarre right now, but that's how these decisions should be taken ideally. Okay. So it's not always incorrect to, pick up chits or to take a lottery. I'll give you another example verbally if I remember that by the end of the session. So you will understand that how to apply these scenarios. Okay. Cool. Next. Your colleague, known for their good work, has been unable to meet a critical deadline due to a personal tragedy, right? Your supervisor, unaware of the situation, asks you to forge the deadline of the report to save your colleague from the disciplinary action. What does forge the completion date mean? Forge means negative. Forge means unethical. Forge means by unfair means you either push the date or make it incorrect somehow so that your colleague is saved. He does not know that that colleague is facing from a personal tragedy. That's why he has missed the deadline. He just wants to save himself and his colleague, his teammate. What would you do in this situation? So a lot of people feel that since my superior only has given me a go ahead, I should do that and it is not going to make a big difference. No, you will not do that. The second one says you will refuse to forge the document and inform the superior about your colleague's situation. Third one says secretly finish the report yourself and submit it, and refuse to forge the document and do nothing. Obviously, this is also not right. But a lot of people, humanitarian people, what they'll do is they'll be like, okay, I am an altruist. So what I need to do is I need to secretly finish the document. I need to help my friend, my colleague, and I'll also save my boss, right? And I'll become the hero. But you can't do that. That's not ethically right. That's not your duty. Because this is giving him a signal that even the next time you want to take a leave, you take a leave. I will always complete your projects. This is not going to be healthy because down the line, others are also going to take advantage of this nature of yours. What is the most ethical thing to do? You will refuse your boss that sorry, I'm not going to forge it, because forgery, no matter what, even if done for the best of outcomes, is incorrect. It's wrong, is morally not right to do. Okay, I'll not do that. Moreover, the person has missed his deadline because of a personal tragedy. So even if that comes out, he should not be in trouble, right? So option B is the clear answer. Can you identify the little dilemmas you're facing here? But these are very to the point, basic questions. Questions which SSC is asking in the examinations. But these questions can actually get complicated, challenging. I'll give you one example by the end of the session. Okay, stay with me till the end. Yes, Prajit, absolutely right, beta. Prajit Anil. Now, this one. A public servant discovers a financial irregularity in a tender process. You will find dilemmas are usually based on these things only. You know, you are at a position, something wrong is happening, you're figuring it out, and then you are taking it out, tenders, anything. You have found a discrepancy, you need to report it. Questions are majorly, you're a doctor, you're saving somebody's life, right? Now, a public servant discovers a financial irregularity in a tender process, which benefits a company owned by a close friend. Exposing it will save the government money, but will ruin his friend's career and lead to legal action. What is the most ethical course of action? Report the irregularity to the appropriate authorities, adhering to official procedure. Inform the friend privately and ask them to rectify the issue without official record. Leak the information anonymously to the media to avoid direct confrontation with the friend. Obviously, this is not right. And ignore the irregularity to protect the friend and their family. This is also not right. I think here also 90% of you will mark it correctly in the first go only, but 10% of you will overthink in the examination under the pressure. You will feel that he is my friend. Okay. What if I tell him that this is discrepancy, you rectify it, I will not tell a word about this to anybody else, and both of us will be safe. Okay. But here you are actually encouraging him and you are not being fair, you are being partial. And as a government officer, as a public servant, you cannot be partial. It's morally incorrect. It's immoral of you to do that. So what is the ideal option is, you'll have to report the irregularity even if the person is your friend. Then the government has to decide what it needs to do about it. Okay, so you are indirectly just performing your duties. Next. An environmental officer finds a factory owned by a major local employer is polluting a river. So there's a local employer in a region. A person is providing employment to a lot of people around him, and this person's factory, you found out that is polluting a river. Now shutting down the factory will cause significant job losses in the community. Now what will you do? Okay, what will you do? You know that this person is creating a menace and is actually leading to water pollution, extremely severe water pollution. So you need to shut down the company immediately. But if you shut down, a huge amount of people will lose their jobs and the community is going to suffer. So what decision do you take? Read the options. First choice always friend. No. See, always stay away from what you would have done in your real life. Okay, a lot of people do other things in their real life, but SSC has got nothing to do with that. This is an ideal situation, you choose it accordingly. So what is the most ethical choice for the officer? Order the immediate closure of the factory due to environmental damage. See, this is ideally not right because this is going to lead to a heavy job loss, which is not desired. Delay the decision to allow the factory time to find a solution privately. Again, enforce a strict penalty and a deadline for corrective action to stop the pollution, and overlook the pollution to prevent the economic hardship and the job loss. This is too good to be true, and this is too extremely incorrect, extremely negative, extremely positive. Both of them are incorrect. Now in the middle to one, you will feel that option B seems to be slightly better. Why? Because if I give him the chance, I tell him that okay, I will take a decision, I will take 20 days to take my decision. So indirectly I'm telling him you have 20 days time, solve it. And he will solve it privately and nobody will know, and I will not take any decision and everything will be okay for everybody, right? This is ideally not the right thing to do. Again, because you're breaching your moral duties as an environmental officer. Number one. Number two, you're encouraging him that even if in future, if you commit something like this, I'll give you a chance. Number three, just imagine downstream that river, there are 10 more companies who are also dumping their waste inside the water, and they think that, oh, this officer is okay, he will give us one such chance also. So that is going to create an even bigger ruckus for you. So how to stay clean from it? You enforce a strict penalty on the person. You tell him that this is your punishment for violating the laws. But I'm also giving you a deadline of, let's say, a month. Within this month, or by the end of this month, you need to clear these things, and this environmental impact should be zero or within the limits. Only then when your organization will continue, otherwise I'll shut it off, right? So this is also saving the jobs of all those people, and this is giving him a strict and stern warning. So option C is the most appropriate answer here. Okay, next. No update. Midun Shankar, nothing so far. And I mean, we are very close to August end now. If they have not yet released any dates, I don't think it's going to be conducted anytime in the first week. So probably somewhere in the second week, maybe. But let's see, whatever happens. You are a manager who has to lay off a percentage of your team due to budget cuts. Okay. You have a choice between laying off a higher performing employee with a difficult personality or an average performing employee who is universally liked. You can only save one. So what would you do? Now, you are the manager of an organization. The organization is paying you to maintain people who are performing high and overall get them to perform better so that your company benefits, right? If you choose a person who is an average performer but is liked by everybody in your team, so you are taking a personal decision here. Just because the person is not weird, or I would not say weird, very strong in terms of his personality, is not, coming across very as an arrogant person or something of that sort. So you're choosing him, you're keeping him by your side and you're like, okay, performance or will manage. Let this high performer go. He's too snooty to be in the business. But that's not ideally what you should do. You are going to look at the benefit of the organization. Plus, performer and average performer. So you have a criteria here. You can objectively measure this criteria. There is a metric to it. But being, difficult to deal with, a difficult person and an easygoing person, there is no metric to it, and that is not even important as an organization. So your ideal answer should be that you retain the high performing employee based on the objective performance metrics. You don't retain the average performing one. You don't ask the team to vote, not at all. Never can you do that. You cannot ask the team to vote here. You cannot give the power in their hands, and you can't flip a coin. A lot of people feel that of flipping a coin and all, what's useless? What useless thing is this? So I'll tell you now, I'll give you that example. Okay, listen to me very carefully. Right, exactly. Nepotism Pro Max. Okay, now listen to me carefully. Okay, interesting example I'm giving you. It's not written here, it's here. So supposedly you were on a cruise ship. Okay, and there was a huge problem. The ship sank and only 11 people were safe and sound and alive, in short. There was only one lifeboat which was functional and which was left, and those 11 people were going to sit on the lifeboat and save themselves. Now the population is such that, the gentry is such that 10 of these people are young, healthy people, individuals who have good life ahead of them, who have commitments, who have families, etc, etc, etc. And the 11th one of them is an old lady who is probably 80 plus and might die anytime soon. Anytime soon means we don't know. I mean, she has lived her life. She probably does not have a family. Okay, and she has done everything which she wanted to do. She's seen her life. She's done with now. The problem is the boat can only sit 10 people. There is no place for the 11th one, no adjustment, nothing. If you sit the 11th one, the boat is going to sink. Everybody is going to die. Now the choice is with you. That is the dilemma. That which one person will you ask to leave the boat? Will that be a healthy individual, or will that be this old woman? Now, two schools of people. The first school says that, okay, I think we should let the old woman go because she's already seen everything. She's almost going to die. So, I mean, she will understand that we need to live our lives. We have families at home. We have people to take care of. And maybe that was it. That's how she was how she was destined to die. So she needs to sacrifice. Another school of people will think that I will sacrifice myself. There are people like this. Honestly, they'll become heroic in that moment, and they'll be like, I'll ask myself, I'll stay myself, and I'll let everybody else go, and I will take a shot. I might die, whatever it is. The problem is they put a constraint in this question. They tell you that you cannot sacrifice yourself. Now you have to make a choice. So this becomes a dilemma. What do you choose? And majority of the people end up choosing, under this pressure, they end up choosing the old woman. But out here, there is no valid choice whatsoever. Neither can you choose an old woman, nor can you choose a healthy individual. Why? Because life is life. Old or young, life is equal. Morally or ethically, life is equal. You cannot sacrifice any one person's life, right? You can't go in the utilitarian method here. So what is the ideal scenario? The ideal scenario is, again, an objective choice. So you have nothing but chits. You will make chits for, let's say, 11 people. You will ask them, everybody, that choose one chit out of this. Okay, and one chit, whatever, I mean, however you go about it, that one chit which will come up, the name of that person will stay back, the other one will go. This is actually the ideal and the most, ethical, most moral way to deal with this problem. It's sheer luck. That's it. Right? Because there is no other criteria how you can judge that who's going to stay and who's going to go. And if one life needs to be sacrificed, that's the only one option you have, then that's the only one option how you will proceed. Are you getting the point? So this is slightly a different scenario. These are the scenarios where voting, chit counting are actually useful. Like in that hospital case, okay, the politician and the normal patient. So you will come across questions like this. Don't always think that, okay, this chit picking is never the right answer. That's not the case. Maybe it is. You need to think about the scenario correctly. All right. So with that, we'll end the session here. Okay, for today. About the learning outcomes. So our main goal was to understand the concept of ethical dilemma. We have done that, I think, brilliantly. And we need to practice some few questions. We did that also. But I'm giving you one more homework question. Before that, I'll tell you how to download the PDF of the session. If you really want to do that, the updated application of Oliveboard, you go there, drop down menu, select your examination, bottom right corner, click on courses. This page will open for you. Scroll, scroll, scroll. You will come to the class, the current class. Click on that. The PDF will be yours. You'll have an option of download PDF there. Okay. And now I'll display the homework question in front of you. This is the bonus homework question, the doctor's dilemma. Okay. The bonus homework question. How do you need to address it? So you can take a screenshot here, right? And answer this question after the session ends in the comment box. I will check this session after a while to see how many of you have answered. I need this to be very interactive. Take participation and let me know how many of you have actually benefited from this session and how many of you found this session to be fruitful. Thank you so much for joining live, guys. I'll take your leave now. I'll see you around in the next class. Till then, bye-bye. Namaskar. Jai Hind.